to Similarly Different. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Similarly Different. If you're watching this visually, watching is visually silly. Anyways, not gonna edit this. If you're watching this, then you probably see that I am sitting a little not proper. But honestly, I was crashing out earlier, and if you know about that, then you know it's just been one of those days. It was actually my birthday yesterday, and it was great. I was not crashing out because of my birthday or anything negative of that, but I was just feeling the feeling of sometimes you just feel like you can't get it right. And one of the topics that I had to talk about, I just felt like aligned with several things that I'm going through. So today's episode is about, are you too much? Are you enough? And how to navigate all the feelings in between it. So obviously, if you are watching this and you are a woman, I am sure that you have felt at some point in time, whether it be family, with friends, career, relationship, that you have been told that you are either too much, too emotional, too vocal, too hyperactive, too passive, maybe too motivated. And then also you've been rejected in many different ways, and you have felt like you've missed the mark. You're not enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not tall enough. You're not intelligent enough. You're not sexy enough. And then on the other sense, you could be too sexy, you know? You're too conservative. You're not conservative enough. And it's just so frustrating because there has been several movies, several shows, books, amazing quotes from like the Barbie movie with America Ferrera saying that whole long quote. But it's just a forever going topic. There's even episodes inside Sex and the City that literally talk about it. And it's a show from 1995 and it's still very much relevant in today's world. So I wanted to talk to you guys about how I navigate whenever I feel or I'm told that I'm either too much or maybe not enough, in hopes that if you're feeling either feeling or both at the same time, it resonates. And if it ever does come up, then you listen to an episode about it. So I wrote a few things, but first I actually want to start with a similarly curious because we got it about this topic. So I felt it was right on theme. It says, this might sound dumb, but I've been thinking a lot about how often I leave a conversation replaying everything I said. Like, did I overshare? Did I make it weird? It's almost like I go into connection mode and then immediately into cleanup mode. I know we've all been there. We're like, oh, should I have told that person that? I'm trying to get better at just being myself without post-game analysis, but it's hard, especially when I care. Same. I don't want to shrink, but I also don't want to be the person who overwhelms the room. Do you ever feel the tension between being fully you and being socially appropriate? Curious how you navigate it. Curiously yours, Anonymous. You know, I think that there's so many different ways to look at this. If this is your first time in a room or in a setting of a certain theme, like let's say a networking job or an industry you're trying to break into, I can for sure understand the being socially appropriate so that people don't think of you a certain way or any of that sort. But I also feel like a lot of the times, and speaking from experience, because I've gone to a lot of influencer events where everybody knows Yanina's always going to be at the event, Yanina's this, Yanina's that. I just think that at some point in our life, we truly have to get to the point of who gives a fuck? Because I promise that if people have something to say about you, they're going to say it whether you're quiet, they're going to say it whether you're loud. And yes, do I think there needs to be a little bit of awareness of when to do certain things and when not to? 1000%. And I think growth, maturity, reading the room has a lot to do with that. But if you're wondering if you have to be socially appropriate and you're categorizing that into that, that in itself is minimizing your authentic self. And your authentic self should be allowed in any room that you're in. And I hope I make sense with that. But there was another thing that they said in here, which is that they care. And, you know, for a long time, a lot of my friends growing up used to be like, you care so much, you care so much. Yes, newsflash, I care. I care what people say about me. I care what people think about me. And that's just because I am a caring person. That's just how I was. Now, as I've gotten older, I've learned to let go and not carry what people say about me. And I think there's a distinctive understanding in that. I could care what certain people say about me. I am going to, but it's very selective now what those and who those people are. I don't care what a stranger says about me. Yes, I do care what my best friend says about me. Yes, I do care what my sister says about me, what my mom says about me, what my grandma says about me are people that I value, that I care, and that I actually respect. Now, I really don't give two flying shits if homeboy over here with the egg emoji with no profile picture calls me any name in the book that he wants to call me, or if somebody with a tattoo page that is clearly a fake page has a paragraph to say about me. You know why? Because that is a sign of insecurity, and that's a you problem, not a me problem, and I'm not going to carry it on my backpack when it is not for me to carry. I think it's understanding what do I grab from this and what do I just leave over there. You have that saying, you feel that way, cool. That's for you. That's a you problem. That's your opinion. I'm not going to carry that. A lot of the times we use what people say and label us as, and we carry the weight of it when it's their words, it's their opinions. You don't have to carry it. And I think that I've navigated through that as I've gotten older and tried to just, in the not care is because not that I don't care, I just no longer claimed it to be mine. Where before, if somebody said anything towards me or about me, I claimed it to be mine. It must be true. I must be showing that. I must be exuding that. I must be too much. I must not be enough. You know, and you have to understand, I've been in an industry from dance to modeling to commercial work to influencing. And we've talked about this in the past, where in an industry where they literally tell you if you are it or not. If you're going to get the brand deal, depends on your metrics, depends on your look, depends on if the brand is still going that route. If you're going to get the commercial, depends on if the brand wants a blonde or a brunette. There's so many variables that go into it that the last thing you need to do is give power to a stranger. Now, I understand it can hurt sometimes when our family members, let's say, are really critical. I have a few friends of mine that, their family members, specifically like their parents, are very criticizing to them about how they dress, what they weigh. And my heart goes out to them because I know that whether I showcase it or not, when my mom says something negatively to me, it really affects me. And even with that, as I've gotten older, I've learned to not carry it with me and that I don't have to receive it. I think something really powerful is knowing when to receive and when not to receive. So a lot of the times, you know, if you're spiritual, somebody will say something like, oh, girl, you belong on a billboard, da, 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 da. And normally you would hear, oh, I receive it from your mouth to God's ears, da, 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 da. Well, the same thing goes for life. I don't have to receive your negative comment. I don't have to receive your perception of me. I don't have to receive your analysis that you decided to do on your free time about me. I know who I am. I look every morning at myself in the mirror, as well as when I'm walking by glass buildings. I speak to myself. I have already an inner voice. I am very much aware of every little mark, of every little beauty mark, of every little frizzy hair that may be above my head. So it's being able to remove, and in the Mel Robbins way, let them have their opinion, but do not carry it with you. And I think that even before the Let Them book, I was very much a person that, yeah, sometimes it would affect me, but more times than not, I would literally tell myself, what they think about you is literally not your problems. They do not pay your bills. If somebody calls you fat, skinny, ugly, whatever, guess what? Your bills still gotta get paid. Guess what? You still have to go to work every day. You still have to go to school to be able to get an education. You still have things that you need to do. So are you gonna let that stop you, or even stop you from going to whatever goals you wanna achieve? Or are you gonna let it move you? And I'll share with you guys a personal story of something that recently happened to me. I wanted to close a deal on something, and obviously it's a very competitive industry that we're in the different lines of work that I do, and ultimately it didn't go my way. That's fine. I was fine with it. And then somebody of the opposite sex got the opportunity. And it was frustrating to me. And I kept trying to tell myself, like, why is this frustrating me so much? And I think it's because a lot of the times they put us women in this box of like, you're too much or you're just not enough. So my brain started going and it's like, well, if you were just more like fun and maybe had like a fun party niche, it would be interesting for people. Or what if you just like played the rules of the industry and were just more flirtatious with men when it came to doing deals, which I'm not. Business is business. And I was like, oh, if you just like, maybe came from a famous family, or if you were dating somebody famous, you for sure would have been given the opportunity. And all these like negative thoughts were happening in my head. And at the end of the day, it's like, that's not the truth. Because the truth is, my opportunity will come my way when it's supposed to. And in this instance of like being too much or not enough, I felt like I wasn't enough. But it's just that it didn't align with me. So even if you are being told you're not enough for this opportunity or that, another example is I have a friend that is so overqualified and so intelligent, and so many jobs keep passing on her. Obviously, like today's world is very hard right now with the economy and everything, but they keep passing on her, and she's like so confused. And she was crying to me the other day. She's like, I just don't get it. Every job interview is saying like, you're so talented. We love exactly. But then she's like, and then it gets to the fourth, fifth interview and they pass on me. And she's like, it's like if I'm not enough. It's like I'm not enough, but like I'm too much. And I said, okay, express that to me. And she said, well, I have a crazy resume. It's really good. I'm talented. They love my ideas in the interview, but I'm not booking the job. And I said, then maybe it's not the job for you. Maybe it's something that God is protecting you from and you just don't see it right now. Maybe this time where you're getting your bills paid with money you have saved, with unemployment, whatever the case may be in your case, maybe right now her season that she's supposed to be in is a season of reflection, a season of calmness, a season of working on self. And she wouldn't be able to if she was working a 9 to 5 right now and doing this. Now, I told her, I said, you have the blessing of having your finances covered through X, Y, and Z things that you have set up. So you're just feeling like you're not enough because you're being rejected, right? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, well, look at the blessing that you have of all the time you're able to fill up with other things right now. So how about let's focus on that. And for whatever reason, you're not being hired by these different companies, but you don't know what environment you're walking into. You don't know what things are going to come from it or what God has in store from you that is so much bigger. And it's like that little bear and the big bear where it's like, you want it, 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 but it's until the right time. And the same thing goes for me. Like I have to continue to remind myself of that. So it's like, if you ever feel like you're not enough or like you're too much, just bring yourself back to center and remind yourself that at the end of the day, when it comes to who you are, has to be coming from self, and the too much or the too little or the not enough feeling has to be where you don't carry it with you as your identity. With social media growing, with facades, with celebrities, it's so hard not to compare yourself. It's so hard to not nitpick yourself. But what kind of person are we if we're just doing that to ourselves all the time, when other people who are unsolicited and unwanted are gonna do it for us? So if we actually think about it, we're spending so much time analyzing that when they're gonna do it no matter what. We just have to learn to not carry it with us because it's not for us to carry. Something I wrote on here is, have you ever been made to feel like you take up too much space emotionally, physically, or energetically? At times I have felt like I have been in a season where emotionally I just haven't been the best. And I've either overshared or overpoured, and then feel like those people or that person then starts viewing me differently. And like this idea that they had of me kind of minimizes me. My friend Lely and I have this joke that we always talk about. And it's like, when people first meet her, they're like, oh my God, Lely, she has 1 million followers, this and that. And then they get to know her and they're like, oh, it's Lely. Like the has faded. And I think that happens a lot in friendships and business partnerships. and even relationships. Like, think about the time when you first started dating someone and how like you were like getting butterflies. You would be like, oh my God, is this person going to think this? The more you're around a person, you see their flaws, you see all these things. And the aha has a tendency to fade and you're normalized. And she told me and my friend were talking about it, and she was like, man, I feel like, when it comes to certain things and certain ways I move, then that aha leaves. And she's like, and it makes me wonder, like, do they not see me like I'm the shit anymore? And they probably don't. And I'm sure it's happened to all of us in different ways. But I think what makes us human is the fact that we have flaws, the fact that we have levels to us, and the fact that we can't be too much and not enough based on whoever's perception it is. But it's up to us to feel like we're just enough and good enough every time. And it's a work that you have to do in self, so that when other people say this or that, it doesn't like make you like this. Because if not, you're going to be like this forever. And when it comes to dating, I've had guys tell me like I'm too confident or I'm too opinionated, or they're like, oh, I didn't compliment you on this because, like, I mean, you post on social media, you already know you're beautiful. And I hate that. I think that lately men lack complimenting you when they're dating you, but they'll compliment you when they're just sliding in the DM. And it's such a brain fuck to me, where I'm like, even if I'm getting told from Jacob or Pablo or Peter that I'm beautiful, of course I want to hear from the guy I'm dating. And it's not me asking for too much. It's just normal interaction between one and the other person. Sometimes in friendships, when you grow and evolve, suddenly you're too busy or you're too into your career, Or maybe even if you're a mom, like, oh, everything's about your baby now. Yes, we evolve. Things that I personally, even though I don't have kids, liked 10 years ago, I probably don't like and have different habits now. So if you have a friend that recently just had a baby and you feel like everything is about the baby, understand that this is your friend's phase and new chapter and thing that she's stepping into. Everything is an amazement. Everything is a discovery. Everything is an emotional process that she is experiencing for the first time or for the second time, or that she's currently sitting in. So I think that sometimes like being so unaware outside of our own bubble is what makes the possibility of somebody saying something like that to you, or in a workplace and meetings, being direct can come off as aggressive, right? If a man does it, it's fine. But if a woman does it, oh my God, you're too much, like calm your tone. You're not even being direct. You're being rude is the way they'll assess it. And it's like, but being quiet makes you invisible. They'll walk all over you. You'll never get that raise. And if you do get that raise, it's because you're a pushover. But it's like, either way, you're doing too much or you're not enough. So a lot of the times it's like, I'm sure you guys have been in these experiences, because I know I have. Now, I think the too much is rooted in control, insecurity, and projection from others, like I said. And I have started navigating the idea of not caring what other people release, because just because they release it doesn't mean I have to grab it. Now, society still rewards women for shrinking. They think that if women are at the top, if women are pursuing to break barriers, if women are pursuing, big roles, it's just like, ugh, they're doing too much. They should just sit over there quietly and cross their legs and batter their lashes, But why is too confident such a negative thing? I have really confident days and I have non-confident days. And I feel like lately I have felt like social media specifically likes to support you as long as they feel that you are insecure. If you post content and you're having a good week and you filmed a whole bunch of content and you release it and you look confident, you exude confidence, assuredness, people have a harder time supporting that than if you're crying, feeling insecure, saying a sob story, sharing a bad story, because then that makes you relatable. But I feel like that's so toxic. Why is relatability on social media based on your downfalls? Why can't it be based on the fact that I am here today, and if I feel confident today, it's probably because I've been working on it. I think that a lot of the times when I see even my engagement, people will engage in things that I have to tell them this didn't come naturally to me. I worked so hard in this. And even then, once I make an achievement, I won't get as much positive reinforcement than if I'm like crashing. And it's so crazy to me. It's insane. But also another thing is too emotional. Why too emotional usually means you made someone uncomfortable with your honesty. And this has to do with being confrontational. I think that I have always learned to communicate. And I have also learned that people are not going to communicate the same way and people are not going to feel the same way. But communication is so important. And I think as I've gotten older as a woman, whenever I want to communicate with someone about our differences, it's such a big thing of like, oh, you're so confrontational. You're too, this is too much for me. Like, I really don't deal with this. Like, I usually either cut my friends off and I don't deal with that, or like, I just don't have time for the energy that this conversation is going to give me, where it's like, be fucking for real, bro. Not everyone is going to like you. You're not always going to see eye to eye with people. And I think that communication is actually a very strong suit, not only in self, but in personal relationships of many sort. And if you feel that talking things through and the uncomfortability of it is too much, then maybe that in itself should be the big pool of, why do I not like me being the confrontational person to tell somebody that didn't make me feel good? Or being approached by someone like, hey, I didn't like how you said this, or I don't like how you said that. Because maybe in that open communication, you can shift the narrative of somebody understanding and even thinking that you're too much, but just understanding this is who you are and your heart and feeling and thought process behind whatever you did or say. Or in the same instance, on the other end, you could actually start being able to understand somebody else that you may be labeled as too much or not enough, and being like, oh, wow, I actually now see where this is coming from for this person. And I never saw it in that light because I never took time to get to know this person and understand how this could be. So just something to think about. I think also reclaiming that if you are too much or too little, it just means that you're not in the right synchronicity. I think sometimes being too much for the workplace, being too much for certain friends, being too much for a partner just lets you know that maybe I'm just not for you. And that's okay. I have a friend, Jamie, she's been on the show several times. And she posted something the other day, which I wonder if I can find it on Threads. But she posted something about, if I am this, if I am that, then I'm just not for you. And I loved it because a lot of the times we're like kicking and screaming about relationships and like, oh my God, they think, like, I'm just too much. I'm too emotional for him. Or like, oh, I'm just too this, I'm just too that when it comes to dating. And it's like, how about maybe that's just not your partner? How about the fact that like maybe you're pursuing and chasing a guy or a woman that is actually not in sync with you and you're not supposed to be together? Maybe this is a red flag. How about that? And she wrote here, I found it. I am a big fucking deal whether you see that or not. I'm a big fucking deal whether you agree or not. I'm a big fucking deal, and I'm sad for you that you don't get to experience what happens when you are in alignment with that. And I think that when I read that, one, me and Jamie have conversations all the time about how she has minimized herself in the past for the wrong partners, only to realize she wasn't even being her authentic self. And we've all done that, whether it be friendships, whether it be workplace, whether it be guys or girls that you dated. And as you get older, which is another thing of when you get older, you just stop giving a fuck. And then I say stop giving a fuck, but really is you learn so much about yourself that the shaking of others telling you who you are doesn't shake you as easily because you truly know yourself. So when we get older, we're like in our teen years and people are like, oh, well, like, I know you didn't mean it that way. I figured you meant it like this, and this, but it really pissed me off. A lot of the times you might be swayed and be like, yeah, you're right. And you don't even know how I meant it, but you're just like swayed to try to like not be too much and like hope to like smooth things over with people. But as you get older, if somebody was to be like, well, I didn't like how you said that because I felt like this and this, I could be like, I 1000% meant it that way. Maybe my execution wasn't the best, but that is what I felt. And that is the sentiment. And it is what it is. And I think that some people may not like that, but that's totally fine, because when you lead with love and you lead with grace, it may not always hit in that way. But that's when communication comes in. And I think that as long as you're leading with love and with grace in uncomfortable situations, it's not your job to campaign for yourself. It's your job to be yourself. And the people that are supposed to be around you, the opportunities that are supposed to be around you will present themselves. And those that aren't, whether it be synchronicity, whether it be timing, whether it be the stage in your life, will fall off. And the biggest thing I can tell you is don't try to keep carrying on those who are meant to fall off. Because sometimes that's what's holding you back in your alignment to be your true self. And for you to stop feeling like you're too much. And for you to actually feel like, this is me. Take it or leave it. And I don't want to confuse the take it or leave it or this is me sentiment with unawareness, selfishness, narcissism, and just like lack of, because I definitely don't condone that. And I do think there's always room to grow. There's always habits and patterns for us to change. But when you're having to change every part of yourself for someone or for something, it shouldn't be worth that. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like, I think for as, you know, a repeating topic of this podcast is we're forever evolving. We're humans. We're not always going to get it right. But you're not supposed to change your whole identity to be allowed to be in the same space with someone, to be able to love on someone, to be able to be accepted as a friend, or to be able to share your talents in a workplace. That just means you're not aligned. And I think understanding that and seeing that first instead of wanting to dissect and change your entire being is something that is really important for you to be able to see. And sometimes, I will say, you are too much in the wrong setting. And I think it's also having understanding and awareness of like, it's not that I'm too much overall. This just ain't the setting. Like, read the room, but don't change yourself. And I don't know if this is a walking contradiction, the fact that I'm even saying this, or if it's hard for you guys to understand this concept. And if it is, please write to me and let me know and we can talk about it more. But I think that, you know, I'm not going to be bending over, shaking my ass at a work party. But like, let yourself be loose when you're with your girlfriends. So awareness is very key when it comes to this. And I think a lot of us don't have awareness, and it's something that we need to learn to grow and be more knowledgeable and know when to use it, you know, because awareness will avoid a lot of problems that can come to pass. So now I want to ask you guys, what's a moment where you were proud to be too much? Because it actually showcased that if you were limiting yourself, X, Y, or Z thing wouldn't have happened. And what does it look like for you to stop apologizing for taking up space? Because I think something that we have a tendency to do is either physically say sorry or start minimizing and limiting ourselves and our true identity and our true being, and like the little things, whether it be quirks or goofiness, you know. And I think that like I really have made it in the last 3 years to stop apologizing, whether it be verbally or with actions, for my being and for myself. And one of the biggest key signs if somebody is meant to potentially be my partner is if I can be my goofy self around them. If you know me on a personal level or even like watch my TikTok lives or I have talked to you guys, I am very goofy. I change voices. I'm very expressive with my hands and I'm just goofy. If I can't be goofy around a friend or a partner, they're just not for me, because I need to be able to turn off and not be so polished and not think and just be. And if something stupid comes out, then it comes out. Like, how many stupid stuff have I said throughout this podcast? But there's wisdom in it. But like, how many stupid stuff have I said through it? A lot. Why? Because that's just me. And you either take it or leave it. I'm sure I've gotten a negative comment here and there. Then this podcast isn't for them, and that's fine. You know, so it's like, I just think being your authentic self, when it's supposed to, it's going to work. And it's going to work when you're with the right people, in the right space, in the right time. And it's just having the awareness of it. It's very important. Now, last thought I have. What would you say to your younger self who was told to tone it down? Think of a time when you were told, stop, don't do that. Why are you doing that? Oh my God, you look ridiculous. Let me know. What would you want to say to that younger child if you were to be seeing them and that whole scenario happen right in front of your eyes right now? I really want to know. So make sure to let me know. And The second thing is, I want you guys to, after listening to this episode, share it to a friend of yours who is too loud, too bold, too honest, and let them know that you love that they are all those things. Let them know what you love about them that literally makes them them. And I want you to let them know that you appreciate that about them. Because I think sometimes, the strong, powerful woman, the person that's vocal, the person that's naturally loud, the person that is the life of the party, the person that is super meticulous with every single detail that you appreciate it, but you kind of make fun of. Sometimes they forget that even if they're too much, there's greatness in it. So I want you to remind them of their greatness as well, because sometimes we need that, even if we are very analytical. And, let me know how you guys have felt, whether you have felt too much or not enough. I have felt both. I started the episode sharing with you guys that I felt like I was not enough. And I've experienced that many times in my life. And I've also shared and experienced being too much, whether it be even me being on social media. It's so hard dating because of the fact that people think I'm too much. Guys, they think I'm something because they see my social media. But that's a whole other conversation. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I sat like this because I was literally like, this is what y'all gonna get from me, because this is the vibe I'm on right now. And let me know if you guys like it, or if I was too much in the couch type of vibes for you. I can get back and be serious and professional. But yeah, until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.